everybody, and welcome into Blue Jays Today, where we always have something to say about the Toronto Blue Jays. Coming to you from the Sports Interaction Studio, I'm your host, Nicholas Playalong.
And I'm your host, Adam Peddle. And today, guys, here we are. Best of three. The Blue Jays have evened up this series against the Dodgers, despite all the odds, man. After coming off a terrible 18-inning loss, Blue Jays do what they do best, and they bounce back in Game 4, and they win pretty handily. One of the cleanest baseball games I think we've seen pretty much all postseason from these Blue Jays. We're going to break it down, what happened, who did what, and also some very interesting stats and highlights. Before we get into it, though, make sure to hit that like button and smash that subscribe button. Also, hit that hype button. It pushes our videos to new people and it helps out small creators. First things first, Blue Jays, they win 6-2 last night in a very short game, comparatively speaking. What do you like about this game off the top? Just a clean game by the Blue Jays, doing what they do best, scoring runs, and also having some good pitching.
Well, I definitely like that we were capable of winning in regulation.
That was nice.
I don't think anybody was down for another 18-inning affair, but it was also a relatively stressful game. To a point, right? Yeah. We were up 2-1 for a large part of it. And then it was in that 7th inning where it was like, okay, let's put them in the dirt. Let's finish this thing and avoid any even potential of going to extras, which is inevitably what happened. And the Blue Jays went on to win this thing in regulation. But honestly, like you said, a very complete game from everyone. The pitching staff was solid. Shane Bieber stood on business. 5.1 innings, 4 hits, 1 earned run allowed, 3 walks, and 3 strikeouts. So wasn't absolutely blowing it past him, but also wasn't giving anything up either. And then the bullpen after him, because we still had almost 4 entire innings of baseball to pitch right there. You'd think, well, they're pitching from behind the 8 ball because everyone's exhausted, and that is kind of true, but Fluharty came in, did his business. Chris Bassitt came in, did his business, and then Varland closed that thing out. I know that people were a little concerned about Varland coming in, but we were up by 5. He's still one of our best guys, and that was ultimately not a closing situation, and I think you wanted to save Jeff Hoffman for today, should you inevitably need him. So, yeah, complete game by the boys, 11 hits as well. Yeah. So we were getting to Shohei Ohtani, and then also that bullpen too. Ohtani did have a pretty solid start, but left that thing with 4 earned, even though he left with ducks on the pond. Inherited, and they inevitably came around. But overall, I mean, 10 out of 10 by the Jays.
Yeah, and we executed the game plan that we've been saying for a while. You got to get to that Dodgers bullpen. Now, I know they did get to the bullpen in that 18-inning game, and obviously it didn't work, but this was always the game plan. You got to go and capitalize. We got ducks on the pond, get that guy out of the game, and then score those runs in, and that's exactly what happened. Bonda gave up 2 earned runs himself, and then obviously let in the other inherited that Ohtani left stranded. He had 2 on base, and those came around to score. So great game by the boys, but let's give our flowers to Shane Bieber right now, because for most of the postseason, I think we talked about it, he had like a mid-4 ERA. Obviously, small sample size. He had 12 innings before tonight's game, and we were thinking, Bieber, he's been all right. Not really the guy that we traded for, but tonight is what we saw, the guy that we traded for at the deadline. Now, numbers starting to even out a little bit. Got a 3.57 ERA over 17 2/3 innings. This is the Bieber I've been wanting to see. A guy who could come in, veteran experience. We saw John Schneider even come up to the mound at one point, ask him, hey, can you get this guy out? And I forget who was at the dish. It might have been Kike Hernandez. He didn't get him out. He got on base. Then he got the hook. So we thought he was going to pull a little Mad Max on him. He didn't scream at him, just calmly told him what the game plan was. But again, showing the veteran experience and commanding this ball game, knowing what to do.
Yeah, he did a really solid job, man. And I haven't been disappointed with Bieber in any capacity, but I also haven't been thrilled either with what it is that he's been capable of doing. But granted, you got to give the guy the benefit of the doubt. I mean, we're still, I feel like, we're in a spot right now where we forget what some of these guys have been through. Like Trey Savage still being a rookie, Mad Max being 41, and then Shane Bieber coming off of a year and a half where he just did not play baseball at all. And off the stats is a great stat right here. Shane Bieber's the first pitcher in MLB history to miss the first 4 months of the season on the IL. and then win a World Series game. So nobody else has ever done that before. It kind of makes sense. Usually when you miss the first months of the season, you're not playing super well, or, you don't even get the opportunity to go to the World Series. So credit where credit is due to Shane Bieber for putting the team on his back. Now, another individual in that pitching staff that I really want to talk about here, and we got to discussing him a little bit yesterday and maybe the future of him, is Chris Bassitt. Chris Bassitt has been a dog ever since moving over to that bullpen. As a reliever in the playoffs, he's got 6.2 innings, 0 earned runs, 1 hit in 6.2 innings. That's phenomenal right there. 1 walk and 8 strikeouts. And this was something that was kind of causing some debate among the Toronto Blue Jays community as, okay, well, Chris Bassitt, he's never been a bullpen guy before, other than that 1 inning that he came in right before the All-Star game. But it's weird, right? You never really done this before. Now you're coming in. For the first time in his MLB career yesterday, he pitched in back-to-back games. That's never happened before for him at all, and it's happening for him in the World Series. So Chris Bassitt, honestly, has been phenomenal for the Toronto Blue Jays. Not as a starter, but as a bullpen guy.
Yeah, you can see when it comes to the postseason, it's whoever's hot in that pen, you play those guys. Usually it applies the same thing for the lineup as well, but Chris Bassitt has sneakily become the Blue Jays setup man. It's wild to think that Chris Bassitt, who was fighting for a starting pitching spot in this playoff rotation, is now becoming the elite setup man. And what's great about him is you can get multiple innings from him. 2 innings he gave last night. Again, that was the 1 hit he gave up all postseason was last night, but I'll take that, no problem, with 2 strikeouts. Now, it's interesting to think about how Chris Bassitt, his contract is coming up at the end of the year. And I've been always in the camp, well, yeah, like Chris Bassitt is getting up on their age. Maybe they want to let him go. But I think after what you're seeing in this postseason and seeing what he brings to the Blue Jays and what the Blue Jays mean to him as well, we kind of forget about that he does love this team. He does love this country. He's really active in Jays care. Do you see Chris Bassitt potentially coming back here on a 1 or 2 year deal after it's all said and done?
See, I was thinking about maybe the possibility of Chris Bassitt coming back to the Jays, but not necessarily as a locked-in starting pitcher, but kind of somebody in that Swiss Army knife role. Somebody like Ross Stripling, for instance. Throwback to when we had him and what he did for this team was so exceptional. Or maybe even in what Eric Lauer did, right? Where for some parts of the season, you're acting as a starter when we need you to make it through the dog days of summer. But then you move over to the bullpen in certain aspects of the season and you just play that role. For whatever reason, he is thriving right now in the bullpen for the Toronto Blue Jays, and I know that he's starting to get up there in age, and I don't necessarily think that I want to see Toronto lock him down on another 3-year deal and have him there as a starting, a cornerstone to the starting pitchers for a long period of time, because I do think there needs to be some element of turnover in that rotation. I would like to see it get a little bit younger, but he has been exceptional in the playoffs coming out of that pen. So if you did want to flirt with the idea of bringing Bassitt back on a 1-year, maybe even a 2-year deal in that Swiss Army knife Ross Stripling type of role, I am not against it.
Yeah, I wouldn't be either, man. And obviously it all depends on who you are getting in this free agency class, because we're getting ahead of ourselves. We've got to talk about the World Series, but you got to take a look at who's available and if there's anybody that you could put directly in that rotation. If it's full, then there's Chris Bassitt, could be a nice Swiss Army type of guy. But Chris Bassitt, he's been great for the Blue Jays postseason bullpen. And what's crazy is because when we think about this bullpen, obviously Jeff Hoffman, he's been on fire so far this postseason. Sir Anthony Dominguez, he can have his hiccups, right? We actually saw it the other day when he blown the save for the Blue Jays, giving up that solo bomb to Shohei Ohtani. Now you got Chris Bassitt bumped up in there. I know he's right in the middle here on Fangraphs, but Chris Bassitt, he's the number 2 for me. Louis Varland is your fire extinguisher, and then everybody else is kind of just situational matchup guys. So that's where the bullpen lies right now. And as you can see, we're going to get ahead to Game 5 a little bit later, but you're going to have Jeff Hoffman available after what Chris Bassitt giving you 2 innings yesterday. Sir Anthony will be available. Our favorite, Brendan Little, as everyone knows. Eric Lauer and Fisher. But there's still guys in there that if you can get a good start from Trey Savage, hopefully you can go and get those guys in the game at some point. Now, speaking of bullpen, the Dodgers bullpen, I mentioned off the top. We finally got to them, and the numbers are starting to round out in a negative way for this bullpen for the Dodgers. Blake Treinen, He's pitched the most games in this postseason. He's got an 8.31 ERA. Roki's been phenomenal. You don't want to get to Roki. Vessia's obviously not on the roster. Bonda's the guy that we saw yesterday. He's the lefty that's coming in and facing our lefties, and we're doing damage off them.
Right.
It doesn't even matter. Sheehan, of course, we saw him the other night, but this has got to be the recipe moving forward. Got to get to those guys because, look at the starting pitchers of this team, of the Dodgers team. They're too damn good.
Yes.
And I'd much rather, and I said this last night when Ohtani was leaving the game, I would take anybody in that bullpen, even Roki Sasaki, over anybody on that starting or pitching staff.
Okay, that's actually questionable. I would rather have Shohei Ohtani on the bump
than Roki.
Yes, with what we were doing yesterday, than Roki.
No.
All right, that's an agree to disagree,
crazy.
guys.
It's not that egregious, I don't think. Like that starting pitching staff, they're all phenomenal. They're all
sure,
pieces, right?
But we were getting to Ohtani again. We're picking at straws right here. You guys listen to the comments down below, but I would rather take it to Ohtani over Roki in that moment of time after we were getting to him. Either way, though, we got Blake Snell on the bump today, who is obviously very, very good. Now, Toronto did get to him the last time up. That inflated his ERA to the absolutely disgusting number of 2.42. How terrible by Blake Snell. But he is still obviously phenomenal. And against him is going to be Trey Savage. Now, we do need to see Trey Savage go, I think, a little bit deeper in this ball game than he did in game one. Even though we were capable of winning that game, he had to really claw to go those 4 innings and giving up 2 earned runs. And then you saw, 5 individuals come out of the bullpen. We could play that game, but ultimately, I'm thinking we need to have a deeper start here from Trey.
Yeah, we're going to need it. And that's the tough thing is that he usually has been struggling with a lot of command lately. I mean, in that start, he had 3 walks, right? And he wasn't really commanding that splitter a hell of a lot. In fact, he actually dropped it and he only threw it about, I think it was 10% of the time, which is usually his best pitches. We've gone to see Trey Savage over the course of his short major league career. So the fact that the Blue Jays are a little bit beat up is a little bit concerning to me, but you got to see maybe if Eric Lauer, he threw 68 pitches. I don't know how much you're going to get out of him in this start. We got to wait and we got to see what happens tonight. Before we get to all of our score predictions, do want to give some love to the boys who are doing it with the offense. They scored 6 last night, all because of this guy as well. Vladimir Guerrero Jr., 7 home runs, now leads the Blue Jays for most in postseason. Over Jose Bautista, over Joe Carter. And guess what? The next 14 years, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is going to be a Blue Jay. We've already talked about it so many times. It's just sweet to know that everybody who hated Vladdy is now proven wrong.
Right.
And we're here in Game 5 of the World Series coming up tonight, forcing a Game 6. Vladdy's the LCS MVP. He's making postseason history. It's really sweet when you feel right about one thing.
Yeah, of course, right? And for that loser over there at LA Times that said Fatty Vladdy, all that. Well, I mean, Fatty Vladdy is literally right up there with all of the greats right now.
Yeah.
He is 14 total bases away from Randy Arozarena for the most total bases in single postseason history. Now, 14 bases is a lot, and the maximum amount of games that he'd have is 3 to play. So I don't know if he's going to be able to catch Randy. He'd have to have a couple really big games, probably a few more home runs involved in all of that. But either way, he will almost assuredly solo own second place because right now he is tied with Corey Seager and David Freese for that second place spot. And that is obviously a hang it in the Louvre type of photo right there. Ohtani watching it just fly away. The lady in the background,
I know her,
with her hands to her face right there, and Vladdy pimping the ever living crap out of it just with his eyeballs right there. So he's been phenomenal. Also on top of him, kind of somebody that hasn't got as much media coverage is Addison Barger. He had that insane home run a couple nights ago with the pinch hit home run that I believe it was Dan Plesac that called that in the the pregame show, which was very, very cool. But either way, he's been great in the postseason. 16 for 19, 3 bombs, OPS of 940, and 10 RBIs. So that has been just a production machine for us. We kind of saw Addison Barger in the second half of the season taper off and start to slow down, but ever ever since the playoffs started, it has been red hot.
Yeah, he's been super, super hot. He got bumped up to the 4 spot last night. Obviously, no George Springer. That's still a thing we're waiting to see whether he gets to start tonight or he's available for pitch hitting off the bench. But no George Springer. So you got to have guys step up. He went 2 for 5 yesterday. You love to see it. And honestly, ever since the boys were on the road to Seattle, he found something. Same with Alejandro Kirk, but he's hitting 1.151 OPS since Seattle, and that's a large sample size of 9 games. We're starting to get a little bit bigger. So Addison Barger showing up at the right time. I mean, again, I like calling him the most underrated Blue Jay because there are so many names like George and like Kirk. He's been doing really good this postseason, and obviously Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Ernie Clement becoming a fan favorite of everybody outside the Blue Jays. But Addison Barger, you can't look past him. This is how you win World Series, folks. You got to have multiple guys doing what Addison Barger's doing, and they do. So Blue Jays, you got a great chance. Going back to tonight, what are we feeling? Do the Blue Jays have a chance tonight to pull ahead 3-2 against the LA Dodgers, go back to Toronto where you only got to win 1 of 2?
Well, they definitely have a chance. They are the underdogs, and I do think that is understandable. At the end of the day, it is still Trey Savage, who is a rookie on the road in LA, up against Blake Snell, who, even though he was trash last time out, he is still a very good pitcher. So they got a chance. I do believe that this, to me, is shaping up like a loss for the Toronto Blue Jays. That being said, before people go to the comments and hate all over us, whenever we pick a loss for the Jays, that's when they win. And whenever we pick a win, that's when they lose. So I just want it to be clear, there's just a tiny little itsy bit of strategy involved in what it is that I'm saying here. But I do think that there is a lot of things that are stacked against the Jays in this particular matchup. Should they go on to lose this game, I'm really not going to be that upset about it. I'd love it if we can win this one and get ahead of the curve, but I asked for us to win 1 game on the road. They did that yesterday. Regardless of what happens tonight, we are going to Game 6, and we will have an opportunity up against Yoshinobu Yamamoto to prove that we can actually hit that guy and that we deserve to win a World Series.
Yeah, see, that's the scary part for me. This one almost feels like a must-win because you're looking at Yoshinobu Yamamoto on Friday, and his last 2 outings, 18 innings, 2 earned runs. Like, it's absolutely disgusting. I think he's only let up 8 hits as well in that time. He dominated us. I don't really want to be seeing Yamamoto on a must-win game. Like, that's really terrifying. I mean, everything's terrifying when you're in the World Series. Winning today, you could afford a little bit of a slip up. And hey, if you do want to just clinch it down in Game 6, repeat history a little bit from 93, that'd be great too. But today, find a way to make it happen. But I'm going to say, like Nick's saying, they're going to lose.
Yeah.
Okay. And they're going to lose something like, they're going to really get to you, Savage. Right? I'm winking for those on audio platforms. And they're going to beat us like 6-3.
I do think that is the safe prediction. And even though there is some strategy involved, like, I'll be honest, if somebody had a gun to my head and asked me who am I going to pick to win this game, I would have to pick the LA Dodgers.
That's right.
But you guys let us know in the comments down below. What do you think about all this? Hit that like, smash that subscribe button, hit the hype button too if you have the option to do so. $4 a month from YouTube membership to get all of our current YouTube members. You guys are amazing.
Guys, thank you so much for watching.
And as always,
Go Jays, go!